Hey there, welcome back to Spice Files. I'm joined by my good friend, Dave Barth. How you doing?
Hey, Mike, I feel like it's been a long time since we last talked.
Indeed, yeah, wearing the same shirt, in fact,
Yes,
as the last episode. Yeah,
you're saying
indeed.
you're drinking the same beer.
The same beer. I left it here just so it could age properly. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So in this episode, we are going to talk about the spicy decks from the Winter Derby, right?
Yeah.
So,
So the Winter Derby this year was 164 players from like I don't know 15 countries or more. I haven't counted them up. I
mm,
have to do that for my report pretty soon. Um, and we played it under Pacific rules this time around.
right.
The new four strip mine format on the block, and
Sure.
I mean the Winter Derby is always just a great opportunity for people, mostly for players in the U.S. to play against Europeans and
Mhm.
people who are in further afield, and just kind of like yeah, a big kind of mixer between
Yeah.
regions. And the goal is for everyone to play 8 matches well, in this, I would say in the Swiss, it's kind of a different structure slightly, but the point
Mhm.
is, hopefully everyone comes out of it making 8 new friends that are in different regions in the U.S. or in
Mhm.
Europe or wherever. And we rotate the format so that everyone gets a chance to play in different, slightly different rule sets for 93, 94.
Yeah, I like that part about it quite a bit actually, because you're not just going to necessarily run back the exact same deck that you played
Hmm.
in the last derby, and it just mixes things up a little bit. And certain people, like out here, we're obviously playing one format a lot, and it kind of gets people out of their comfort zone.
Yeah,
So
and I think that honestly, like changing it up a little bit, coming out of your comfort zone, you learn things that actually help you for with your
yeah,
home format anyway.
hmm yeah, for
So
sure.
I don't know, everybody wins. I feel like when you mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, well let's dig in. So what we did was we flagged I don't know a dozen or so spicy lists from the 150, 160 or so deck photos that I received. Of course, like any big event like this, there's an ocean of serendipity, and we can close those decks pretty quickly,
Mhm.
um, and distill it down to some lists that both you and I were excited about. So
Mhm.
we have 9 decks to share, and these are in no particular order. There are no prizes for the Winter Derby at all. Like whoever wins the Winter Derby gets nothing, and there are no. I mean, we have like spice recognition with a little
Mhm.
like chili pepper next to the pilot on the tournament report. But other than that, I mean, the idea is that like any kind of like prize at all in the derby would maybe be have some kind of corrupting
Yeah.
potential, and we don't need any of that. The point is
Mhm.
just to play the games.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and so but even so, like we found some cool things. So
Mhm.
let's walk through these. They're in no particular order, so we're just gonna go alpha order by first name.
Yeah. Uh,
uh and there's no one there's no first name that can come earlier than Aaron. uh,
That's true.
uh,
AA, okay.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is Aaron Steals. So Aaron Steele uh, titled this deck, um, "I hope this helps you," um, and I mean, I guess he technically has a turn one kill, because he can just channel Fireball and win the game if it comes
Mhm.
up.
Sure.
Um, but other than that, he is mostly doing things that help his opponent.
That is a
Um,
good deck title. I like that quite a bit.
yeah, so he can give them a creature for free,
Hmm.
with Gasbin Ogre. He can pump up their attacking creatures because he doesn't really have a creatures that attack on his own, with the Might Stone. He gives his opponent free cards with Howling Mine. He gives his opponent free mana with Mana Flare.
Hmm.
Um, everyone plays open-handed, I think, under
With
Revelation.
Revelation, yeah.
But maybe he and his opponent can put their hands down and discuss amongst themselves how he can best help them. Um, you know, if his opponent has a bad hand, if he sees that his opponent has a bad hand under Revelation, he can Winds of Change them maybe into some action.
That's true.
You know,
he also has these rainbow veils, which I think are funny too.
sure, right? Yeah, just give your opponent a land that can make any color. I mean, I hope this helps.
Yeah. Eternal Flame is a funny one too.
Yeah. He doesn't have now. Eternal Flame needs mountains to work, right? So
right.
His mountain count is a little bit low for Eternal Flame, but I mean that's really the only knock that I have.
Yeah.
This is just funny. It's really cute. I don't know, like if anyone else tries this, I'm sorry you don't get a Spice Award. Aaron's the first person to do this, and
he gets it. Okay.
No bothering with sideboards here. Like why sideboard when the 60 is already perfect in what it wants to do?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Well done, Aaron.
Indeed. Okay.
All right.
All right. So next up.
Well, I was making fun of Serendib Fritz earlier. What stands out about this particular Serendib deck, and I use the term Serendib broadly because it involves both the Ifrits and the Djinns. This is a cop blue, suicide blue deck, basically.
Yeah, I like it.
He can protect himself from the Ifrit damage, from the Psyblast damage. To himself, he can, and if he's sacrificing a island under Serendib Djinn, he can prevent the damage too.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's really quite cool actually, and periodically on here, I think we've talked about how there's a difference between just jamming a bunch of unusual cards into a deck and trying to be spicy, and actually putting in cards that are unusual that have a functional purpose and cohesiveness with each other, right? And this is definitely going down that route, right? I mean, you're playing some Sleight of Minds. Those have more than one purpose here. You can sleight your order. You can sleight your cop, right? There's just multiple things happening in this deck where when you've got one of these, slightly more off the wall cards, you're actually probably a little bit more happy to see it because it actually serves more than one purpose. So.
Yeah, for sure. I love. Sorry. This is Brian Limbacher, by the way.
Yes. Sorry.
He is from the Order of the Ebon Hand. I think he's in Ohio somewhere or something. But he has an Ebon Hand crew that he rolls with, I think.
Gotcha.
Okay, so. What I like about this, you mentioned the slights, right? He's got Repentant Blacksmith in the board if he needs more pro-color creatures.
Nice.
And he also has Cop Red, at least one Cop Red. Who knows? There could always be a second Cop Red lurking around.
Secret one off the screen. Yeah. I do also appreciate he has the fourth Cop Blue.
Right, sure. For the relevant matchup.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And then the extra slight is good as well, right? Because there's certainly going to be scenarios where maybe you just can't really take out all of your, you probably don't ever really want to board out all the Cop Blues, but I'm sure there's places where I would feel like if your orders and your cops don't really line up at all, then you're always relying on having the sleight to make them slightly better, know? But so maybe you just need more sleight of hand sometime, or sleight of mind sometime.
Sure. A card that I really like in this deck actually is the main deck Wrath of God. So Wrath of God is I don't know if you know this, Mike. Wrath of God is a very powerful effect.
Indeed.
If you're in trouble, Wrath of God can really bail you out. And generally that means your opponent is threatening you with a bunch of creatures that you can kill. Sure. But in this case, Brian has creatures that threaten him as well.
Right.
So maybe, Serendib Djinn is about to go apeshit and ruin your entire board. You don't want to sacrifice, your last couple lands. I don't know. Yeah. You can wrath it away.
Yeah.
If push comes to shove.
Yeah, even just the common scenario of like, I have one Serendib on the board
Right.
and I've drawn another. Should I really play this? Like, does that actually work or not? Right? Am I going to kill myself depending on what happens in the game?
Yeah, those
and like
pings
having
out.
that wrath is just like it's an out, right? Like it's a way out of this potentially weird scenario I've got myself into. So
Totally. I have two more quick comments.
Mhm.
One is I can't leave this deck photo without mentioning the one revised Serendib Efreet hanging out there at the back of the line.
Yeah.
That's really cute. Okay, and then the other thing is I love the matchup against like mono black hymns and orders post board with the purges in the sideboard.
Sure.
Like he's got orders. Oh, he also has a mismatched order art, which I guess there's.
Well, I didn't notice that at first. Yeah.
There's a mismatching sub theme,
Like
which is pretty great too. So he's got the orders. He can slight the repentant blacksmiths to pro black. I mean, they're just like he can slide a cop to pro black. Like they're just basically like if he runs into mono black, he's set. Like if they gloom him, he can like slight that to black. Like I mean, there's so many different things you can do.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned the mismatch thing. Those Psy blasts are half and half, also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, one other card I kind of glossed over somehow. There's a Bazaar of Baghdad in here.
Yeah.
I think it's to go with the land taxes, right?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I mean, that works, right?
That works.
It's kind of neat, actually. I actually don't know that I've ever seen that combination of cards before, and that's actually sort of interesting.
Actually, makes a lot of sense because if you're drawing two potentially action cards and you're just pitching the three lands that you just drew like for free, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that. I wish I had any Bazaars. I would try that because that seems like a reasonable engine.
It does seem reasonable, yeah. Actually, that makes me wonder if like maybe that's a good way to kind of supplement reanimator decks a bit. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Because it gives you like another way when you're like you don't have the creatures to dump or whatever, and you don't just want to dump your reanimation spells or something. That's kind of cool. That's interesting.
I agree. All right, rock on.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see. So next up
is Evan Hoffman with a Nether Void brew that heavily features a pet card of mine, Psychic Phantom. But there are a lot of things to unpack with this list. I mean, it's a Nether Void stew, but you don't often see this combination. I mean, he's got main deck bottles, which is very cool. He's got main deck tabernacles. Tabernacle is just not a card people expect to see. Like period. And a lot of like low curve aggro lists that want to like go 2 or 3 wide really quick on a few sources. Tabernacle just destroys that entire plan, right? Man, and the 2 main deck mazes as well. Again, force them to overcommit, drop a tabby. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of interesting choices here. I mean, you're clearly on a like Black Vice damage sort of plan. So this one Storm Seeker is kind of cool.
Yes.
I think that's a card that doesn't see nearly as much play as it perhaps should.
Yep.
It's got a lot of things going for it in the right list. The sideboard is just packed full of very powerful effects, I will say.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely love bringing in dibs. Once your opponent, boards out their creature removal because they see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Purge we already kind of talked about with the last deck. I mean, Gloom is like a targeted Nether Void. Yeah, he's just got everything that you'd want to have, like 9 main deck land destruction effects, get the venoms on, the land that you're forcing them to keep. So if they are playing stuff out to get under Vice. They're taking damage anyway.
Right.
It's pretty neat. I mean, Hercules and Vice is awesome also.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a cool deck, and this is a color combination that you don't see all the time either.
I love Bug
which
so
is
much.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really cool deck, and yeah, it's got a ton of interesting things going for it. I like these Nethervoid strategies. We talked about one in the previous video also, right? Playing just going down the Nethervoid route, right?
Yeah,
is
yeah. Well, this is a very, very different deck than the Constantine inspired. That was more of a tempo deck. This is more of a
more prison-y for sure.
Yeah, a little more prison-y, a little more like creatureless Ponza-y. Yeah, man, I love showing Bottle in game 1 and then bringing in Dibs in game 2.
Yeah, that's a cute little thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really cool deck.
Yeah, very cool. So next up,
you may recognize the layout style. Greg Titcomb is sort of an auteur. He's of course old school MTG on Instagram. He has been, he was really the original, like kind of the only game in town as far as using the old school MTG hashtag back in. He started in like 2014 or 2015, I think that account. And yeah, his layouts are very, very precise. And so this just kind of stands out right away as having his signature on it.
I always appreciate that they're unsleeved.
Yes, yeah. No, he keeps his entire collection unsleeved. He only sleeves to play in events.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. And so there's a lot to get to here.
Yeah.
It's a 4 Diamond Valley deck, which is, in a 4-strip environment, you definitely need all 4 Diamond Valleys to make sure one of them sticks.
Yeah.
So I get that. He himself is going with 0 strip mines because, why mess with that? He has multiple vectors of attack, including, just swinging in with a Jusum Jin, picking away with the Underworld Dreams. He also has both draw 7s, right, to go with the Underworld Dreams. He's hoping to stick a Wall of Earth early. And that, of course, it's an amazing blocker. It's probably the best wall in the format. Combos well with the Diamond Valley because you can get the 6 life out of it. Also combos very, very well with Pestilence because Pestilence, of course, requires a creature in play at the end of every turn in order to persist. Right. So Pestilence can just like shred through these, X1 and X2 type weenie decks. Sure. If that wasn't super villain enough for you, he has Disharmonies, which is a great card. Obvious combo with the, Diamond Valley. The dream is to have your opponent attacking with 2 creatures, steal 1, use that to kill your opponent's other creature, and then sack the one that you stole.
Right.
Just for max, max like villainous laughter. And then the Ruck Eggs tied all together. With the Diamond Valleys too. What do you think, Mike? He is worried about that he needs to have artifact blasts standing by.
I mean, it must be he doesn't really want to deal with. It must be Bottle, right? Like usually that's the thing that I think of.
Yeah, Bottle is tough.
But like I don't know that you care that much, right? Like if they blow up your Rook Eggs, you don't really care about that, right? That's perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like I'm surprised that there's not the 4th Shatter before the first Artifact Blast.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know.
Must have had a good reason though.
You can counter. Yeah. I guess you can shatter a disc, right? Shatter's basically counter spell for disc.
There must be something we're not thinking of.
Very, very, very unique.
Yeah, this is a very cool deck.
It's a funny pile.
Yeah, the thing I also really liked about this was the sort of transformational sideboard, because he kind of turns into this, Winds of Change,
it just
Underworld
straight up
Dreams,
like
Howling
Underworld
Mar.
Dreams combo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really kind of neat, and I mean, I wouldn't really expect that to be happening, had I played against him.
No, if I'm playing against Wall of Earth and Ruck Egg, I
Yeah,
expect you to stick with that strategy.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, Wall of Earth it's probably the best wall. It's definitely, I think it's got the edge because it costs 2 mana. The other wall that I really like is Wall of Heat, which is very similar, but it costs 1 more mana. So
yeah, it costs 1 more. I mean, it's got a great. I mean, the nice thing about Wall of Heat is you can't attack 2 knights into it, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's got the 2 power.
Or even just factories, right? You can't attack your factories.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, Wall of Earth, you can just attack a couple guys into it, and you know that one is getting through.
Yeah, but I think here you definitely want the Wall of Earth, because you're not really looking for that too much. I don't think you have enough ways to deal with additional attacking creatures, because you're playing the Disharmony. You've got Shatter.
Yeah, no, you want them to attack with 2 creatures. Yeah. You're like, oh, I can safely attack into Wall of Earth and get one of my guys through. Oh no, you can't. Disharmony. Gotcha. So Wall of Heat is actually like a Nombo with Disharmony.
Exactly, right. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm
glad we explored that particular corner.
It's pretty cool. And then the rest of his sideboard is just reasonably good cards as well, right? Like having Red Blast and Balloons are obviously.
Red Blast is nice.
Yeah. So, very cool deck. I like this. I like this quite a bit. It's definitely a space that I have not explored. I don't have Diamond Valleys.
Me neither.
So I just haven't really gone down that route too often.
Yeah.
But it's definitely got a lot of cool things going with it. I mean, obviously you're kind of by default going to play Rook Egg. I mean, it's the natural thing, but there's a lot of other things you can do with it, I think. There was actually a cool singleton deck that I played against during Chalice that was like red-white walls, basically.
Oh, cool.
That I thought was pretty cool as well, and it kind of had some similar things going on. I'm fairly certain he had Diamond Valley in there and some of these other things. So it was kind of neat. But it made me appreciate how good some of these walls really are.
Sure.
Especially Wall of Swords. Like, that thing is ridiculous.
Wall of Swords is serious. Yeah, I mean, Wall of Swords laughs at Serendipity Free, Sarah Angel. I mean, there aren't really the biggest thing in the sky. I mean, only the biggest things in the sky. Like, you don't really see Shivan Dragons or Mahamoti Jins around too much. Otherwise, Wall of Swords. If you're looking to block for whatever reason,
that and Wall of Earth are probably your
pretty much
your go-tos. There you go.
Cool. All right.
Next up,
next deck comes from Ivan Bari, and this is a this is sort of like a Karma Tomb deck without Karma or Cyclopean Tomb. It's an Angry Mob deck. And he is looking to swampify. If you don't have swamps, he'll give you swamps.
Yeah.
With the evil presences and the phantasmal terrains.
Yeah.
And that, of course, turns on, the Angry Mob gets much angrier. Solkanar gains, unblockable.
Right.
I mean, I feel like this is a situation where I'd want maybe 2 main deck Solkanars, because I see he's got the other one waiting in the sideboard.
Yeah, sure.
Like, just put him in, coach.
Yeah. Yeah. If you so when I first saw this deck photo, if you just look at it and you don't focus on any cards, my first thought was, oh, this is the deck. Because it's got some powerful stuff in it, but then you're like, oh yeah, there's all these things that are like cards you wouldn't see in there,
right?
So it's obviously not the deck, right?
Take out the tomes, some counter spells, and just put in evil presences and angry mobs.
Yeah, and you also got to fit in those phantasmal terrains,
right?
And then you take out, I don't know, if you were on a version of the deck with Sarah Angel, you just jam in that Solkanar instead, right? And you just got better. You just got better win conditions, I would say. Right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I really like. There's an Angry Mob deck that's pretty awesome. I could see fitting in one Cyclopean Tomb in here.
Oh yeah, of course.
Tutor it up, right? But you don't want like 4 of them or anything.
No. I mean, the issue with, and I guess he can't, because he's playing stuff like Solkanar and Tutor and Twist. He actually and Evil Presence, of course. Mm-hmm. He can't run Karma because he has his own, Underground Seas and Scrubs. Mm-hmm. So if
that's
you want
to another deck idea, almost, right?
right. If you want to run Karma Tomb, but you really want black cards yourself, Angry Mob is just where you have to be. I mean, it writes itself, really.
Also he's got some Ashes to Ashes in the sideboard.
I see that, yeah,
which is pretty interesting. That's definitely not something you see every day.
No.
And some Spirit Links. Spirit Links is a pretty good card too. Jam that on your Angry Mob.
Right.
Go to town. I'm sure that's not the go-to plan. I'm sure it's to put on Sarah Dibs or something like that. But
right.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool deck. I like it quite a bit, and it's just you're definitely on sort of a weird, perhaps, mana denial strategy. I'm sure you get some mileage out of just, I'm going to turn your thing into a swamp.
You're right. I'm going to cut you off your colors with
exactly. Yeah.
My whatever it is, 7 main deck. He's got 7 land transformation effects. He's got the Chaos Orb.
Yeah.
If he just needs to outright destroy something, and then he can disenchant on color moxes, stuff like that. So
yeah. And, kudos. No strip mines. He doesn't really want them, I think.
No strip mines, right.
He wants to play the thing.
When he can swampify it.
Right, exactly.
And he has a couple counter spells, Counterspell, Drain, Power Sinks to protect his Angry Mob, once he sticks them. So
yeah,
that's important.
It's cool. I like it quite a bit, actually. It's got a very, I don't know, just quaintness to it almost, if that makes sense. You're just like, you're playing these like reasonable cards, and then you're like, I need to win the game now, and here's my Angry Mob.
Exactly.
And, and you were wondering why I was playing these phantasmal terrains and things like that, right? It's just kind of funny. Mm-hmm. So pretty cool.
Nice job, Ivan.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
Next up, we have another Wall of Earth, Diamond Valley joint, but this is, I would say, very, very different from what Greg was on. So this is our mutual friend, Slan fan, Matthias Pilgrim from Sweden. This is a very cool brew of his. And I'm already like distracted by the the City of Brass altars and his paraphernalia there off to the left. Yeah, but I mean he's got effigies. Let's talk about effigy.
Yeah, I mean effigy is a good card. I think you definitely need to have a plan for boarding them out, which I'm sure he kind of does. That has to happen every once in a while. There's just nothing you can kill with them sometimes, right? But against all the little weenie decks, they're pretty solid.
Yeah,
right.
They block, they kill stuff.
Yeah.
They can combo by chaining into his Ruck Egg. Here's Wall of Heat. You mentioned that with the other deck.
So some Wall of Heats, and then
here it is.
Sorry, go
ahead. No, I was just gonna say I love Gravity Sphere.
Yeah.
He has 2 Gravity Spheres main deck.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone runs Serendipity. So if you can ground one of those suckers, Wall of Earth and Wall of Heat, just kind of laugh at those, and the burden's on them to.
So I was gonna say, he, as we were just talking about the pros and cons of Wall of Earth versus Wall of Heat.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely chose to go with the 4 Wall of Earth, right? Because I think because it's cheaper, right? It makes sense. I think that's sort of the thing to go to first. I will also say that's a lot of Santa head altars.
Right.
And they're on some pretty crazy cards, actually.
Uh, yes. What's the one in the top left? Is that Mind Twist?
I think that's Mind Twist. And the top
Or is it
left
Tutor?
no, the
Tutor.
top left is Pestilence. The top right is Mind.
Pestilence.
Or no, the top right is another Pestilence. I can
Oh, okay.
the
I see the Tutor with the Santa hat.
He just doesn't have a twist. It's in the board.
He went deep on this. Okay, so all right, so so this is a Pestilence Wall of Earth deck. We, almost becoming passé at this point, right? Wow.
They can both claim they did it first. How about that?
And he's got it on the Ancestral.
Yeah.
And on the Balance. I hope that these are on they're not on the actual cards.
I don't know. I mean the ones on the cities probably are, right?
Right.
But I mean that Ancestral, that can't really be on there, right?
No one's doing that on a beta Ancestral, right?
Or the Balance, right?
I mean, Slanfan is crazy.
He is, yeah. Okay, that's reasonable.
But I don't know. All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of this.
We will get to the bottom of this.
Okay. So, Gate to Phyrexia.
There you go. Yeah.
I love Gate to Phyrexia. In a deck like this, where you've got a bunch of permanents that you don't want to get disked away, like you don't want them to disk your walls or your gravity spheres. What you can do is you can board in Gate to Phyrexia against Nevinyrral's disc decks, and your opponent is unable to play a Nevinyrral's disc if you have a Ruck Egg, an Effigy, a wall in play. Because Gate to Phyrexia is basically an unplayable card. But the nice thing about it is that against Disc has summoning sickness. So the drawback of Gate to Phyrexia, you might have heard this before, Mike. I don't know where you would have heard this before. I feel like we've had a version of this conversation recently.
Perhaps.
But the drawback of Gate to Phyrexia is that you can only activate it in your upkeep. It's in your upkeep, you can sack a creature to destroy an artifact. If you could do this at instant speed at any time, it would be a very, very good card. Yeah. As it is, it's a horrible card. Because really the only artifacts that you can meaningfully destroy are ones that your opponent can't use the turn that they're brought into play. Specifically Disc and rocket launcher or something. Those are the only two that I can think of offhand.
Also, does it say that you can only use it once per turn also?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why? Yeah, right. Let's not get carried away.
Right. Obviously. That would just be too good.
But it is perfect in a deck such as this where you are gaining value from sacrificing your own creatures. You do not want your opponent to detonate a disc. And you can just kind of it's like a proactive, almost like a, I don't know. It's not like before a counterspell. It's like a proactive kind of preventative measure against your opponent being able to put a disc into play.
Sure.
As long as you have a creature or two, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's, now that you mention it here, just along with the Rook Eggs, right? I mean, it's pretty sweet to just, on your upkeep, you blow up their mocks and you just make a 4/4, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah. I could almost see just playing that.
Maybe. Just as a sacrifice outlet because of the effigy rocks, Yeah.
I mean, you just have a lot of guys where you get a bonus out of it beyond the artifact destruction. Right? It's neat. I mean, I don't know what card you would take out for that or whatever, but it's just something, just a thought. It does have a lot of synergy here.
Yeah. Man, there are a lot of pretty cool things. What is he getting back with the Skull of Orm?
The Animate Deads, probably.
Animate Deads, Gravity Spheres.
Yeah. I mean,
that's about it.
I don't know how many times your Gravity Sphere gets killed, but
Well, you know, if you board in that Gauge of Phyrexia and it somehow gets killed,
That's right. You can get it back.
fear not, you can you can skull that back.
Yeah, exactly.
I would almost want to see immolation, you know, for some, you know, pump up the value of that skull.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Works well with the walls, sort of.
The other thing I'm dying to know is what matchup he's bringing the Ashnod's Altar in for. Because it just seems like a card, again, maybe more value than Gate of Phyrexia main deck. Like, just like sack all your dudes, make a big fireball, you know, effigy the world, or like make a bunch of runs. I don't know. I bet this was pretty fun. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he had a good time playing this deck.
I'm sure he did. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right,
very cool.
What's next?
Let's see.
Okay. This is our friend, the Dread Pirate Tim.
Indeed.
Paul Fierro of the Knights Templar up in Michigan. So this is a juxtapose deck. He's got 3 juxtaposes. I am wondering if you could help me piece this together, because I alone am not smart enough. Okay, to figure. Okay, so there are a couple things. Like the juxtapose lists tend to have Triskelions and Mana Vaults. Yeah, because they love to give their opponent, take their opponent's highest casting cost creature, give their opponent the Triskelion for a second, but then get the Triskelion back and give their opponent a tapped Mana Vault. That's like Juxtapose 101. Right. No, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but that's like the baseline. That's what you're doing with Juxtapose generally.
So you're and to be clear, just in case people haven't really looked at Juxtapose in some time, right? You actually do them in the order it says on the card, right? So it's supposed to be that you give them the artifact first, right, and then you do the creature afterwards, right? It's in that order.
I think it's the opposite of that.
Is it the opposite of that?
I don't know. You might be right. I've been playing this card and I don't even know what it does. It's creature first.
Creature first. Okay, yeah. Oh, that makes sense because you want to give them the trike, and then
just how I said. Yeah, you give them the trike.
Then you get the trike back because you get the artifact, and then
yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. Okay. Right. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple things to think about here. I think that Brassman plays into that reasonably well, also, right? Not in quite the same way though, right? Because assuming if he's your only creature, then I guess it kind of works out the same way, right? Like you pass them
you ship them the Brassman, then you take the Brassman back and give them a Mox or something, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also tied with the Mana Vault, so you get to choose which thing you want to give.
Correct. Yeah, you choose if there's a tie. All right, so I'm sorry, I've moved on to the Pestilence sub-theme. Okay, so he has 4 main deck Birds of Paradise. Let's ignore that for a second.
Okay.
These Pestilences. Brassman is a good combo with Pestilence. Whirling Dervish is a great combo with Pestilence.
Agree.
Fungasaur is very sweet with Pestilence. And what now? But you don't want to give your opponent an amped up Fungasaur with Juxtapose.
No,
I can't recommend that. What you do want to give them is a Force of Nature that they can't pay the upkeep for.
Right.
That's like the perfect Juxtapose target, right? Because it's going to be the highest CMC thing that you control. And just get one of their creatures, give them something that they can't deal with.
Yeah.
That's
I like that quite a bit, and it's also tied with the trike, right? So when you do it, if you happen to have both, you can choose to give them the Force.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm looking for Pendelhaven combos. pretty much just Whirling Dervish before it gets a counter and a spent Triskelion. You can Pendelhaven that.
It's fine enough, though, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if you need the...
Is that a Homorage Shaman in his sideboard? That's, I believe, the blue creature that like lets you counter a green spell or something like that. What does this thing do?
I don't even remember, actually. Yeah,
we're gonna pull this ship over.
It is a Homorage Shaman, though. Yeah, I can read it.
The Homorage Shaman. Yeah. Okay. No, it doesn't counter a green spell. That would be very good.
Yeah.
Homorage Shaman is 2 blue for a 2/1 creature. That has an activated ability. Blue, tap target green creature. Oh my gosh! Oh, actually, okay. So wait, no. This is a combo. This is a combo because he can give his opponent the Force of Nature. The opponent doesn't pay for the Force of Nature. Fine, they take 8 damage, but they can still attack with Force of Nature. Not if you have Homorage Shaman. You can just pay blue to tap it down. I mean, this is elegance embodied.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, I'm sure that's why he's playing some Mazevis in the main, right? Is to kind of do the same thing, right?
Sure.
But this is when you don't want another maze.
Not as fun, right?
A 4-mana 2/1 instead.
You can tell. I mean, I don't know. For people who are watching this, I don't know who keeps coming back to the Spice Files to watch our shit.
We don't know what our demographic is.
Well, you can tell that like we put 0 prep time into this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and we are genuinely discovering things about these decks.
It's way more interesting that way. To be fair, for us, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to stare at these things for an hour beforehand and like slowly come up with all these things. It's the surprise factor, right? If you miss out on that, it's critical to the viewing experience, right?
God, this is so funky. What is that Skellion doing with a bottle?
It's a good question. Yeah, and there's like he's got like plans, looks like, for a tricycle.
For a tricycle. Yeah. War.
Yeah. Nice.
What is it good for?
That's true.
Okay. Well, Paul, once again, you got us.
Yeah, you're he's on my if I, not that I'm actually making a list of this, but if I had a list of like madmen in the community, he's on it for sure.
Yes. Yeah. That's a very that's a different. There are a lot of like weirdos and crazy people and just like personalities. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like actual laboratory maniacs.
Yeah, indeed. Yes,
that's a pretty short list.
Like he has, I'm sure the room where he put this deck together and sleeved it and everything has like Tesla coils and those workbenches and
those sparky things, right?
Indeed, yeah, and just Frankenstein monster in the background, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, like Dr. Horrible stuff. Okay. All right, well done, Paul. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. All right. Okay. This is a nice combined deck photo as well.
Yeah, which I deeply appreciate, by the way. There occasionally are, some rogues in the Derby who will submit separate files for their main deck and sideboard, and that is maybe the worst thing you can do as a person. Just FYI. So I appreciate what Rich has done here. So this is Rich. I believe I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Rich Bork. I don't know. We'll find out how to pronounce that for real at some point. I like this list a lot. What I like about it the most is that it's monocolored.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Just come out and say that this is mono blue, and this is doing a lot of very thoughtful things. Again, I'm a sucker for Psychic Venom, but the combos here with the power sinks and the mana shorts, they really do, and the ices, of course. That all really does it for me.
You even get a little bit of synergy between the Venoms and the energy fluxes.
Yes. Right, right.
It's not perfect, but it's there.
No,
right?
but if you're either killing their moxes or artifacts or making them pay upkeep, like
Right.
you're gonna trigger that. Yeah, I like. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty hateful deck for just a mono blue list. Like there are a lot of cool choices here. Um, I love Amnesia. I think that's a very neat card. And if you're stranding more cards in hand because you've fluxed their mana rocks or
Yeah.
you're forcing them to think twice about tapping their lands to play stuff out. Um, that's a very real thing to be able to. I mean, ideally you're going like, Lotus Amnesia a couple turns in, but or
Mhm.
like after a draw 7, just destroying all the business in their hand
Yeah.
and laughing like a maniac.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
let's
These
see what else.
I do really enjoy Mana Short though in general. This is one of those cards where like you can it has obvious synergy with things going on in the deck, but it also just kind of serves a fairly practical function on its own, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you can just tap them down on their upkeep and hope that that kind of turns into a time walk a little bit,
totally.
right? So
Yeah,
you
totally.
can just kind of go down that road, and
Yep.
it's just good. Again, we were talking about like the cards working together. It's even better when you have like a card that like it sort of has two purposes. One is just it's fine on its own, and then sometimes in your deck like you have it combo with something and it like
Right.
really takes on a whole other meaning. Um,
Here,
so
here's a hilarious thing. All right, so you're forcing your opponent to pay upkeep costs on their artifacts with fluxes, or God forbid, their creatures with a tabernacle.
sure.
They pay the upkeep cost. They trigger venom. They take some damage. They're like, "Fuck, okay, I'll pay." Then
Mhm.
you boomerang their thing that they just paid for with your 4 main deck boomerangs. That's hilarious.
That is really funny, yeah.
Like that's really really cool. That feels
Man.
great. That
Yeah,
feels
oh,
great.
I'm sure it does. Yeah. I'm sure he did that more than once.
And like I don't know, I feel like this deck works better. Like it's in the 4 strip environment. He's got the full 4 strips. Like he's choosing which sources you're keeping and which he's venoming. Like
Mhm.
which you have to pay your upkeeps for. Like all of this just really works well
Yeah.
together.
Mhm.
And then you can get your flowers back or your strips back or your boomerangs back. You're expending these things. He's got 2 main deck recall.
Mhm.
And he can pitch a couple things that he's not using to
Yeah.
just keep that flow of shenanigans like happening throughout the game.
Mhm. And also, I was noticing, Power Sync obviously fits the same kind of
Oh
role
yeah.
here,
Oh
where
yeah.
it's a reasonable card on its own, right?
Hmm.
And then sometimes you just have these board states where Power Sync is exactly what you want in your hand,
Yep.
right? So it
Man,
seems pretty cool to me.
this is very cool. I kind of want to just do this.
Yeah, just kind of work in this space a little bit,
Yeah.
and just see where
No,
it
this
goes. Yeah,
is this is scratching me where I itch. Really, it's just very well thought out.
yeah,
And again, like can't underscore this enough. Like the fact that it's monocolored and
yeah,
doing all of these crazy fun things.
yeah.
Like without going with the temptation of grabbing tutor or mind twist or something for free. Like
Mhm.
why do
Yeah,
that? Like do all
yeah,
these fun
yeah.
things.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got plenty to do here.
Hmm.
So very cool. I
Really
like
nice
it a
list,
lot.
Rush.
Hmm.
All right, and then I think this is our last deck, right?
Yeah, this final one here is
So this is Ryan Gresco's list. I mean, it's a Hazazon Fast Bond list,
mhm,
obviously.
obvious.
Um, and yeah, Ryan Gresco is from Missouri. And he's been a webcam player going back a couple of years now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just saw this. Like, yeah, Fast Bond Hazazon. And
It's pretty sweet. Yeah,
the
I
4 main deck
know.
mazes really stand out too.
Yeah, for sure. I know out here before Dom relocated to uh, the New England area, he was playing a list kind of similar to this, I think.
Wow.
Just kind of along these lines. He likes to cast giant red cards, and um, has his on that list. He counts, I think.
Sure.
And but yeah, it's definitely not the same list or anything, but there's some cool stuff going on, I think. There is a force of nature in this deck.
There really is, yeah.
And a living plane, I believe, right?
There is.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool.
He's got 2 Caracas. That's important.
Yeah.
Man? Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what the early lines are.
There's also an Atlantic legal deck, right?
Technically, sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, so early lines, he's fast bonding, hopefully like a couple mana sources and a maze.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to commit into the maze so he can disc your shit.
Yeah.
He wants a bunch of lands out. He has both draw 7s, so that after draw 7, he can just stream a bunch of lands down.
Yeah.
He can slam a Hazazon and bounce it back for all the Sand Warrior value. He has a Sylvan Mirror package,
mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like single mirror, single fireball. Does he have a channel?
It also like already combos with the fast bonds too, right? Because you're like taking damage to play.
You're taking damage, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He wants you to commit to these mazes, like Drop of Honey. That's a pretty gnarly. Like there's like a lands, like this whole lands theme.
Yeah, it's really neat. Yeah, there's a lot of cool. They're not. I don't know that I would call them like synergies exactly in like the classical sense, but just a lot of cards that clearly sort of belong in the same deck together. Like, mm-hmm. And they don't even have to be on the board at the same time, right?
Right.
To kind of like still sort of work together,
Sure.
Like you're playing maze, and if you later on draw the disc, right? Those things obviously still worked together, even though they weren't in play at the same time.
Right, exactly.
And same thing with like you might have fast bonded out a bunch of your lands, and then 5 turns later you draw Hazazon, and he's amazing because you get 1,000,000 1/1s, right?
Yeah.
Just things like that. It's like they don't have to be together at the same time, right?
He can take damage from the force of nature to get down into, suitable mirror range.
So you can just choose and not pay it, right? And you just
right, exactly.
Yeah. That's funny. That seems like a fringe interaction, but I hope he did it at least once.
He won 3 matches with this deck.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's got powerful stuff in it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This is real. Okay, and then post board. What the heck?
Yeah, this sideboard's kind of crazy. There's an Island of Wak-wak in it. I think
What's
that's
the third card? Oh, Island of Wak-wak. Okay, I was like, what is that card? It's the guy's arm. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then this other one. So then there's a cop red, and then the other one is I'm forgetting the name of it, but yeah, Equinox. There we go. Yeah, the one that makes your land indestructible.
Yeah.
Which that's sort of funny too.
This is something. I don't know. Yeah. This is something else. I like this deck a lot.
It looks like it's fun to play, actually.
I like the drop in living plane combo too. Like, I don't know. There are just so many little things.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many different things that can happen within this like funky fast bond enabled space.
Then I feel like this living plane is interesting because you have it along with disc, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then, but like the living plane also like does interesting stuff with Drop of Honey as well, right?
Very much so.
You just kill all their guys first, right? Because they're all tied. You get to pick.
Right.
Jeez. That's pretty cool. I like it a lot, actually.
I want to know how many Sand Warriors were made during the making of this production.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really the top of my mind.
Yeah, and my first additional thought was, wouldn't you want to have something like Earthquake to go along with the the living plane, but I don't think you really do. You don't really want to be earthquaking when you've got a bunch of sand warriors, for example.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you've already got the discs, so you have like cool ways to just blow up all the lands anyway.
Right.
And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's super cool with Hazazon because Hazazon makes there's a delayed triggered ability, right? So you don't get the tokens until the next upkeep, but it knows how many lands you had when you played Hazazon.
That's right.
And so you can actually like blow up the world.
You can nuke the world in the meantime.
Yeah.
And then the Sand Warriors inherit the Earth, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're the. I really would love to play this deck and then work towards the goal of having a board state that only has Sand Warriors on it. That's where I'd want to end up.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so disc decks in general are about land superiority. Like lands are the things that survive the disc, right? So you want to make sure you've got, you're using mazes, you're using factories, etc. And that all just kind of, it's just kind of all tied together here. This is very cool.
It's very cool. Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's like I feel like something that's not explored a whole lot. Right? There's a lot of directions you could kind of go with it. Red, white, green seems like the obvious direction to go, especially if you want to play Hazazon. But
Hazazon, man.
But I mean, there might even be color combinations that just don't play him. You kind of need green and then other stuff, right? Because you kind of need green and discs to do half the things, right? So yeah, it's kind of cool. I like it.
Very, very cool. Yeah, no, I was excited to comb through all of the lists for the Derby. I'm going to be publishing the full report pretty soon, with all of the deck photos that were submitted. And of course, there were some other spicy things that we just don't have time in one episode to get to everything.
Sure.
But there will be a couple more accolades probably in the report for those who were spicing hard. But hey, thanks for taking some time to look through these with me.
Of course.
As always, it's just a pleasure to organize the Derby twice a year. It feels like every time it continues to grow, like 164 people is just crazy. If you think about where we were even only a couple of years ago. And we always get, people that it's like their first time playing a webcam tournament. And I just hope everyone who participates, comes away with some new, friends in different regions and, or maybe gets a chance to play with some old friends and reconnect. The point is to go out of your way to schedule a match with someone that you might not necessarily, even if you're doing like pickup games, you might not necessarily like go out of your way to schedule a match with certain people just because of time zone differences or whatever. And the Derby, the whole point is really just like making those connections happen in a more structured way. And just having fun with it. And with decks like the ones that we just looked at, man. I'm sure there's some crazy stories.
I've enjoyed playing in every single one of the derbies I've played in, and a large part of it is the meeting people that maybe you have never played before, and we're despite being a bunch of people playing a niche format for a niche card game, there's a fair number of people in this community, and it's hard to meet everybody and know everybody. So I think the derbies are a great excuse or whatever you want to call it for doing that, right? And it's great fun every time. So thanks for doing this again, and
my pleasure.
We'll catch up soon, I'm sure.
All right, we'll see you then.
All right, see you.